That was Roy Rogers and the Sons of the Pioneers with the Cowboy Night Herd song, a song that Roy himself wrote. For generations of Americans, Roy Rogers and Dale Evans felt like, well, part of the family. For our guest today, Julie Rogers Pomilia, they really were part of the family. Julie is the granddaughter of Roy and Dale, and she's just written a book about her famous family titled Your Heroes, My Grandparents, A Granddaughter's Love. Julie Rogers Pomilia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, it's a real treat for us. And, I was thinking about what it must have been like growing up with Roy Rogers and Dale Evans as your grandparents. Of course, in the very beginning of your life, first few years, you're not going to have any idea of who's famous and who's not famous, or even what fame is to you. They're just your grandma and grandpa. But at some point, someone must have told you who they were to the rest of the world.
Well, that's exactly what happened. When I was young, I just figured that everybody's grandfather had a TV show. And it was just normal to watch that TV show with Grandpa. And we'd have so much fun doing that. And then when I was in second grade, my teacher called me up to her desk, and she had a stack of those weekly readers on her desk, the ones that they used to, well, we still do. I'm a teacher, and we still pass those out. They're Scholastic News. Mm-hmm. Grandpa's picture was on the front. And I looked down, and I saw it, and she said, "Do you know who this is?" And I thought she was kidding. I thought, why is she acting so funny about this? And I said, "Yeah, that's my grandfather." And she took it to such lengths that it kind of disturbed me, and I thought, what is going on here? So when I went home that day, my parents, said, "How was your day?" And I said, "I need to ask you a lot of questions because I don't get it." And I asked them, are they different from other people's grandparents? Don't all grandparents do this? And the hammer came down pretty much, and they said, "Nope, not all grandparents do this. Hate to tell you this." And so that was kind of my first beginning of finding out that, they are different, and they do have an effect on people, and other people know them, which was really strange for me. But then I got used to it, and, I was already used to people staring and pointing and taking pictures, and I did kind of wonder about that, why that always happened. But, we got used to it, and that was my normal, and that's all I knew.
I know that Roy Rogers and Dale Evans had a lot of children, and there were a lot of grandchildren, so were there big family get-togethers? Did you see everybody often?
Well, very much of the time. We were there on the weekends for family dinner, and, there were 9 kids, and 5 of those were adopted, and it was kind of a yours, mine, ours, adopted, foster, anything goes in that family. And we had a very multicultural family, very diverse, and my grandparents were so inclusive, we didn't even pay any attention to it. I had an aunt, I still have an aunt that is Native American. I had an aunt that was Korean. I had another aunt that was from Scotland, and an uncle that had mild brain damage, so he was a little on the edge of special needs. And everybody was treated the same, and there was no pecking order. My dad happened to be Dale's only biological son from her first marriage. She had him when she was 15, so she was very young. So he was the oldest Rogers sibling, and we all fit. We just fit, even though we were all so very different.
I have to tell you, I'm too young to have seen the Roy Rogers TV show when it first aired. I've only seen it in reruns. But even into the 70s, Roy and Dale were busy. I mean, they made a lot of TV appearances. So how did they manage to find the time to get involved with all of the family?
You're right. They didn't have the time, but they made time for us grandchildren. I remember them coming to every recital and birthday party and school play and graduations. And they were very, very hands-on grandparents, and family was everything to them. But, of course, that's what they did, and they had a very busy schedule in the 70s, 60s and 70s and 80s. There were a lot of variety shows, and they were on a lot with them, and we were on twice with them on the Dinah Shore show and also on the Jonathan Winters show. And that was just what they did, and they seemed to just flow with it, and they seemed to go really seamlessly in and out of celebrity and home life. And they were just the same, whether they were on screen or off screen, they weren't any different. And they were really who all the fans hoped they would be. They were very kind and generous and loving, and just normal people with extraordinary jobs.
Did you ever watch any of the old movies with them, or watch the TV show?
Oh yeah, we'd lay on the floor, and Grandpa would come lay down with us. He was like a big kid. He really was. He really related to kids actually better than adults. And he'd say, "Go, Roy, get him, Roy. Go get those bad guys." And we'd be like, "Yeah, Grandpa, get him." And we'd be crawling all over him, And it was just fun, and that was normal to me, which I know sounds a little bit odd, but, it's whatever you grow up with.
So this is something that's always intrigued me, and it might not be anything that you have any insight on, but as I mentioned, I watched the Roy Rogers show, and here we have all the motifs of the Old West. Everybody's walking around in cowboy hats and cowboy boots on horses. There are stagecoach and bank robbers and saloons, everything. But at the same time, there are modern automobiles. So it's almost like cars and the Old West exist in this same Roy Rogers Western universe.
I know. Like with Nellie Bell, the Jeep in that
right.
in that show. I thought that, I didn't think it was weird when I was little, because you just take everything as is when you're little. But I thought that was really odd, too. When I grew up, I thought, well, okay, they live on a farm, and, so they'll have a Jeep and they have horses, which actually, when we'd go visit Grandma and Grandpa every Friday night, they had Nellie Bell in the carport, and they had horses.
Okay.
So it was, again, oh, okay, well, this is normal. But that is kind of a strange thing, huh? I never asked them that, why they combined those two. But it was, for some reason, it worked, because his show was pretty popular. Yeah,
it was one of those ones that, all the other shows kind of took place during the 1800s, but...
Mm-hmm. But his...
Right.
Yeah, No, and actually, if truth be told, I really liked Sky King better than Grandpa's show, and he came on right after Grandpa's show, so I would stick around for Sky King. Yeah, true confessions here.
We're talking with Julie Rogers Pomilia about her famous grandparents, Roy Rogers and Dale Evans. I know that your grandparents had a number of celebrity friends, particularly your grandfather. Did you ever get to meet any of these famous folks?
Well, he went skeet shooting and target practicing a lot with Clark Gable, and, they just had similar interests. And Burt Reynolds went hunting with Grandpa a lot. And, the first time he went hunting with Grandpa, he came home and told his dad. And Bert's dad said, "You went hunting with Roy Rogers, huh?" And he said, "Yeah." And he said, "Now you've made it, son. Now you've made it big." So there were, quite a few. Billy Graham and Ruth Graham were good friends of theirs, and Johnny Cash and June Cash, and, of course, all the Sons of the Pioneers and the people on their show. And I didn't know who was who, because nobody paid attention. We're grandchildren, and we're playing on the floor. We're playing with toys, and we could care less. It could be somebody famous. It could be somebody from church. It could be a neighbor. And we didn't know, and we didn't care. And later on, of course, I met other people as an adult because of my relationship to them through the Golden Boot days. That was an awards show dinner that I used to help with, and there were a lot of people there, and it was really fun to find peers of theirs that had such nice things to say about them.
Yeah, I'm good friends with someone who won a Golden Boot, Will Hutchins.
Oh, I love him and his wife.
Yes, Will and Babs. Yeah, they're listeners to the show. So
I have not seen them. Would you tell them hi? Because I have not seen them for maybe 20 years. I mean, for a while there, we were kind of in the same circles of doing the same Western festivals, And then I just didn't see them anymore. And I still do Western festivals, but I haven't seen them at any, in the last, 15 years or so. Such nice people.
Well, they are. You're on the West Coast, correct?
Yes.
Right. Well, they're on the East Coast.
They're on the East Coast. Well, that's probably one of the reasons why I haven't seen them a lot. But please tell them hello. I just really, really enjoyed being with them those times that we were together, and such nice people.
I sure will. There are so many ways in which your grandparents were pioneers. They didn't just play pioneers in movies and television, but they were pioneers in merchandising. And I think at one point they may have held the record for the most merchandising attached to an entertainment property.
Yeah, they really did. In fact, at the very, very early beginnings, the NFL merchandising was under Grandpa's umbrella. And I didn't put that on the book. There are certain things that I forgot. But it was, he thought, well, I've done so well with it that I think that people would like to see merchandise with the teams on them. So his head of merchandising, he actually kind of took the idea and jumped over to the NFL and kind of left Grandpa out of it. So it was kind of not a very fun story for him to tell.
Right.
He didn't talk about it a lot. But they had over 400 things, merchandise items, and Walt Disney was the only one who had that much and a little more. So they were, and he started it because he wasn't getting enough from the studio to even pay for stamps to return his fan mail. He wanted to get back to them, and he didn't even have the money for that. So that's where he started looking for other ways to make money.
So as we start to wrap up here, where can people go to get your book, Your Heroes, My Grandparents, by Julie Rogers Pomilia? I hope I've been saying it correctly.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
And the subtitle to the book is A Granddaughter's Love. And, that's really why I wrote it. It was just so full of great memories of my growing up. And I wrote it for my sons. And eventually it became published instead, which I had no idea that would ever happen. And it's really from my heart. There were a lot of dear memories. And a lot of the memories in the book are things that we talked about at their bedside as they were, in their last few days here on Earth. So they'd be really happy, I think, that I wrote it. And I think they would get a kick out of reading it themselves. It's up on Amazon, and you can get it on Amazon in hardback or paperback, and you can also get it on Barnes & Noble website, and there's other websites, but those are the two main ones. And I will let you know when my website is up. I'm working on one right now so that people can buy them from me, and I can actually sign them to them and send them back. And people have been asking about that, so I'm in the process of building a website. So
okay.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Are you on social media at all?
Yeah, I am. It's kind of a mouthful. I'm Julie Fox Ashley Pomilia, so
All right.
that's a hard one. But I'm on there, and if you match my picture with the picture on the book, then I guess you got the right one.
Well, maybe if you're on Facebook, maybe you can make a page for the book. And
that wouldn't be a bad idea, actually.
Yeah. And that way people can just like the page, and then they can get all the information from that. And maybe down the road you could do a special secret Sky King page just to...
Yeah, that's true. That's true. my favorite. That's heresy, isn't it?
It is.
Terrible of me to say.
Well,
that's good. I met Penny years later. Penny from that show,
sure.
And I was just all over that. I was so excited to meet her. But anyway, thank you. That's where it is, where they can find the book.
We're going to end with the only song we could go out on, and in your book, you talk about how you had gotten to adulthood, I think, before you realized that your grandmother, Dale Evans, wrote the song "Happy Trails."
Yeah, well, nobody told me that either. I was a little cheesed off about that because I didn't find out till I was in college, and I always told Grandma, nobody in this family tells me anything because they didn't. They just lived their lives, and we were around it, and we didn't ask, and they didn't think it was that important to tell us. And so I was hearing the radio when I was doing my homework in my dorm, and I heard them say Dale Evans. I turned it up to see what they were talking about, and they said, yeah, she wrote that iconic song, Happy Trails. And I said, are you kidding me? I went to the phone. I said, you wrote that? She goes, wait, back up. What? And I said, yeah, you wrote Happy Trails. She goes, well, yeah. And I said, well, how come you never told me that? And she said, well, baby, I just didn't think it was that important. I said, oh. I find out from a stranger on the radio that my own grandma wrote that song, and I'm 20 years old. Nobody tells me anything here. So, I mean, I knew the song because Grandpa would hum it and sing it around the house all the time. But I didn't know she wrote it till then.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and telling those stories. We really appreciate it. And you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too, and happy trails, of course.
Happy trails.